Hey everyone, this is Josh Lockheed, training evangelist here at QuoteWerks. Hope you're having a great day today. We are here today to discuss the version 25 release here at QuoteWerks. It's a representation of a lot of hard work here based on the QuoteWerks team here, and likewise a lot of feedback that we've received over the months and the year from individuals that have been working with the product. I have with me today Brian Laufer, Vice President at QuoteWerks, and he's going to assist throughout the course of the webinar, answering questions in the chat box or the questions box that we have here, and helping to bubble up any questions we might want to answer live and potentially add some color to different topics that we might cover. With that being said, we do have this questions box here within GoToWebinar. So if you do have any questions throughout the course of the webinar, feel free to click on the questions box and put them in there. We'll try our best to get to them during the webinar. We'll answer questions as they come in, and we'll take a couple pauses throughout the course of it. But if at any point you feel like you haven't gotten an answer to your question, or you leave the webinar and you still have some outstanding questions, you can always reach out to us at community@quotewerks.com. We'd be happy to field your questions there as well. We are going to also make a recording of this particular webinar available, as we do with all our webinars. So keep an eye out for that link coming in the next, let's say, 24 to 48 hours. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about our version 25 release. So we're going to go through a short PowerPoint. We're going to do a live demo, and we'll be answering questions throughout the course of that presentation. The summary for version 25 is that we've got 12 new features, 1 miscellaneous feature, and of course a slew of other fixes. Today we're really going to focus on a handful of those new features, but know that if you have any questions about what's included in the breadth of the release, you can always go to the customer area on our website and check out the full release notes. So to begin, I want to just again preface this conversation with the fact that we have different releases that come out here at QuoteWerks. We've got our base build release or version releases, so like version 25 here, and then we'll have builds that come out throughout the course of the year that represent work that's being done. And there's been a lot of work done. We've gone through a number of different iterations of QuoteWerks, and again, we've arrived here at version 25. Every iteration is a representation of feedback that we receive from our customers, our partners, and from the efforts and interest of the QuoteWerks team to make this the best quoting and proposal software on the market, which I would argue it is. We're going to start today with our integration updates, and this is going to be a large chunk of the demo that we're going to be doing today, because we have 2 really exciting releases. The first is the HaloPSA integration for our desktop, and then we also have the Act for Web integration for QuoteWerks Web, and we're going to be diving into both of those during our demo. I did also want to mention here that we have Sugar CRM 14.2, which is now supported, and I'm really excited about these integrations. If you've used any of our RMM or PSA integrations, be generally familiar with the way that they work. But again, we're going to go through them today and show you the way that you can interact with both HaloPSA and Act for Web through the respective products, desktop or web. So with that being said, HaloPSA is one of our large release factors here. We've got the ability to search for, use, and create clients and users in HaloPSA. We can also create and update opportunities, quotes. We can leverage our Datalink function that is available with all our different RMM and PSAs. You can also use HaloPSA as a data source, which is a really useful thing to do. If you have an items list in HaloPSA, you can pull from that and include those items in your quote. We also can link to HaloPSA directly from QuoteWerks, so you don't have to go and type in your HaloPSA URL and go through that process of logging in, since we already have the credentials in our system. And anything that is sent via email, PDFs, attachments are saved in HaloPSA as well. So not only are you getting the ability to use existing clients and items from the HaloPSA databases, but you are able to then push that information back into HaloPSA to create that unified workflow. As I mentioned, we also have released Act for Web and QuoteWerks Web. If anyone here is familiar with Act for Web, just to kind of set the table here, we here at QuoteWerks refer to our integration as Act for Web. but that can represent whether it's a hosted on-premise or Act Cloud implementation. We do have our Act for Web and Act Desktop implementations in the QuoteWerks Desktop product. And again, we're introducing Act for Web and QuoteWerks Web here. Much like the HaloPSA integration, you can search, select, and create contacts, create and update opportunities, schedule different tasks within Act for Web, add items to an opportunity, so you can see those line items in the actual opportunity. And just like HaloPSA, we can leverage Datalink, we can link to Act directly from QuoteWerks, and our email communication, along with those PDFs that might be sent out to our customers as quotes, are logged in Act for Web as well. And again, we're going to spend a significant amount of time today going through both of those integrations, but I wanted to just give you a quick overview of what you can do. Now, in addition to those two integrations that were released, we now have some updates to our Ingram Micro integration as well. The new integration here is using the JSON API that Ingram has released. This change is really due to two separate factors. First off, Ingram is sunsetting the XML API in, I believe it's the end of this month. And the new integration has a number of different advantages, including the ability to combine different order types, faster pricing and availability requests, persistent pricing override notes, and it also includes the ability to resize the order form. So not only are we getting up to the latest and greatest standard that is being released by Ingram, but we get these enhancements as well. So if there's anyone out there that's currently using the Ingram Micro integration for purchasing and you haven't yet gone in and updated your credentials, I'd suggest you do so now so that you can continue using that integration. Now, I saw that there were a couple individuals that are interested or excited at the DKIM release when we did our poll. DKIM is a new feature that we have. It stands for Domain Keys Identified Mail, which is an industry standard. It does allow us to configure DKIM so that the automated emails that are sent out from QuoteValet are ensured that they're going to be delivered and that those notifications are originating from your company's domain name rather than a do not reply email. This is something that, again, has come from our customers asking for it and an identification that it's something that would help make our product better. So I want to thank everyone that may have submitted a feature request or talked to the team about potentially adding this. Definitely brings us to the next level, and I'll show you in a little bit how you can enable DKIM on your instance of QuoteWerks. Another new feature that we have here is the ability to paste contact and company information from your clipboard into the sold to, shipped to, and billed to area and the document workbook. So this gives you the ability to take generally unformatted text, so single or multi-line entries that have names, phone numbers, emails, things of that nature, copy it out, paste it in, and then QuoteWerks actually goes through it, parses out what fields should be where, and puts the appropriate fields into the sold to, shipped to, or billed to fields respectively. And we'll show you how this works in just a little bit, but it is certainly a great feature, time saver for those individuals that may be working with a new lead and entering that into the QuoteWerks system, or potentially just the first time that you're working with that individual and want to make sure that they get updated in your system as well. We also introduced the release of a new payment gateway. So Clover is now supported for individuals that want to take advantage of it as a payment gateway for QuoteValet payments. This is an addition to the over 80 payment gateways that we already support. It's just extending our functionality to another provider, and we'll show you how you could set that up in just a few minutes here. And last but not least, in terms of the features that we want to focus on for today's release, we've got the ability to search Google Maps for your sold to, shipped to, or billed to contact instantly in your web browser. So what this gives you the ability to do is to use a drop-down menu that we have on the sold to, shipped to, and billed to fields. And when you click that particular button for Google Maps, it'll actually pull up Google Maps in your browser. Again, another time saver, quickly give you the ability to see where they are, get directions, and coordinate your service delivery as well. So as I mentioned, we're going to go into all of these in some form or fashion here today in a live demo. So we're going to go and look at the QuoteValet Unified Setup, which is where Clover and DKIM are both configured. We're also going to go and paste from Clipboard and Google Maps in the document workbook. And then we're going to jump into our HaloPSA and Act for Web integrations. Just going to pause for a moment to see if we have any questions. Don't see anything that's come in just yet. So again, I'll encourage you to insert your questions in the question box if you do have any or as they come up. So I am going to now get into QuoteWerks Web. And the first thing I want to show you is that QuoteValet Unified Setup. And that's where you would go to change your QuoteValet settings, which include DKIM and the Clover payment gateway. So here we are in QuoteWerks Web. The way that we would get to the QuoteValet Unified Setup is by going to the Setup. And then we would want to go to Options and then QuoteValet. Now, just a note here, this isn't included in version 25, but the QuoteValet Unified Setup is something that was released within our version 24, and it includes the ability to use the same setup screen whether you're on QuoteWerks Web or QuoteWerks Desktop. So for all intents and purposes, the same thing that I'm doing here in QuoteWerks Web is the same thing that you'd be able to do on QuoteWerks Desktop. So the first thing I want to show you is the payment processing. So if you haven't set up payment processing before, this is where you would go to do that. These would be the gateway accounts that would be used when you are accepting payments through QuoteValet. And you can see here that we now have Clover. It's as easy as coming in, and if you don't have it set up, which I'm going to simulate here, you would hit New. You would choose your merchant account credit card, and then you would come down and select Clover. All you would need to do here is just insert your API token, and then you'd be able to use this gateway for payments via QuoteValet. All right. So that is pretty simple, but again, wanted to highlight it. If you are using Clover, you can now leverage it to accept payments through QuoteValet. The other thing I want to show you here is the email settings section, and this is where we're going to have our DKIM settings. So we'll just kind of go through the page and discuss what each of these things mean here. So the first option is use the sales rep's email address when sending automated emails from QuoteValet to the customer. So this is when you're going into the deliver icon, you're uploading your quote to QuoteValet, and you're emailing it from the system. By checking this, it's going to ensure that it's going to use the sales rep email address from the QuoteWerks system as the reply to. If this option is not checked, then they're going to be sent from do not reply at QuoteValet.com. Now, in order to do this and the next one, we do need to do some additional configuration, which we'll talk about in just a minute. This next option here is to use the customer's email address when sending automated emails from QuoteValet to the sales rep. This is not generally recommended, and it's made available for legacy purposes, but you do have the ability to check it, and this will help to ensure that if you are having your customers reply to your sales reps' emails via QuoteValet, that it's being sent from their email address. And then we have one other section here to put in a from address when sending automated emails from QuoteValet to the sales rep, and these are just determining which emails you want to use. But in order to use anything but that do not reply at QuoteValet.com, you're going to want to make sure that you come into the QuoteValet DKIM relay and go through the setup steps here. Now, I just want to point out that we do have a help file that goes over how you would set up this particular setting. So feel free to review that. But at a high level, we have two different DKIM relay modes. We have simple and advanced, and you can also choose not to use DKIM relay if you'd like. In order to set up DKIM, there's some steps you need to take, including putting your email domain, and then there are specific steps that you need to take on your server. Now, if you're doing a simple, you have to make some changes to your SPF, CNAME record, and DMARC. And then if you're using advanced, there's a couple more settings that you're going to need to make specific to DKIM. You're also going to need to get a DKIM selector and a DKIM private key. So really your decision on which option you'd like to go with. It's important that anyone that is going to be actually implementing these DKIM settings on your server are a server administrator and familiar with command line functions, because obviously working with your production environment, we want to make sure that we're careful in doing things the way they should be done. Now the steps here are pretty explicit, so you should be able to follow them and get things set up if you're looking to set up DKIM. But if at any point, you can always reach out to our team and we'd be happy to help. So that is DKIM and Clover, again, both accessed via the QuoteValet unified setup screen here. Next thing we're going to do is talk a bit about Ingram and the changes that they made. There's not really that much to demo per se, as the functionality is going to be very similar, aside from the few changes that I discussed. But I do want to at least show you how you would go in and adjust these settings. So if you go into real-time and then Ingram Micro, you're going to want to put your new credentials here in the JSON pricing and availability / quote importing section. So again, very simple in order to make those changes, but pretty significant in terms of what it is that you're going to be able to do with the new integration and some of the benefits that we've discussed already.
And real quick there, Josh, if they're not familiar with how to get those keys, we do have instructions on how to do that in our documentation. So it's important that they understand that.
Yep. Great. Thank you, Brian. All right. The next thing that I'd like to show you is in the actual document workbook. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go and create a new quote by hitting the new button. And as I mentioned, there's two new updates to the sold to ship to tab. The first one that we have is, let's say, again, you are working with like a new lead or someone that you don't have their contact information already in your CRM or in the QuoteWerks system. We're going to simulate that today. So let's say you went to a particular website, you're reviewing it, you spoke with the individual there, and you're going to be providing a quote, but you need to quickly get their address information. Well, here we are on a website. We're going to scroll on down to the bottom, and you can see that we have that information right here. So if we come in and copy that and go into QuoteWerks Web or QuoteWerks Desktop for that matter, you have the ability to paste from Clipboard, and that's included in both the sold to, ship to, as well as the bill to areas here. So if we click paste from Clipboard, you'll see that it brings in the company name, the address, the suite number, the city, and puts it in all the appropriate field locations. So again, another opportunity to save some time when working with the system. And also another thing that you could do, which we'll talk about in a minute, is easily create new contacts based on that information here in QuoteWerks Web and QuoteWerks Desktop. As long as you have your CRM connected, and you have the company contact name and address in there, this new button becomes available, and that will actually create that new contact in your, or company and contact in your contact manager if it doesn't already exist. Now, if there are instances where you have, let's say, already the name of the company in there, but you're just trying to add a contact, you want to do it a little bit differently. You're going to want to go into your CRM and add them in there. But again, brand new company, brand new contact. This is a great way to go ahead and get that done. The other thing that we added here on the sold to, ship to, bill to tab is we've rearranged the way that the ship to or copy to ship to and copy to bill to are displayed. And we've added this show in Google Maps option here. So show in Google Maps, again, straightforward here in regards to the fact that you have an email address in either sold to, ship to, bill to tab. You click on show in Google Maps, and it's going to bring that up in your web browser. Now again, from here, you could very easily get directions, you could save, you can share it with other service teams so that they have access to wherever they may be going to be dispatched. Really, the use of it is endless, but it's a nice little, again, time saver that we've included here for you. All right, so we've talked about Clover, Ingram, paste from Clipboard, and Google Maps. So now we can get into the new integrations that we have, and we're going to start today with our HaloPSA integration. So we're going to actually leave this page for a moment and go into QuoteWerks Desktop, and we're going to walk through that integration with you.
And real quick too, Josh, Halo is available now in web as well, but it's important to show it in desktop as well.
It is, and the desktop version was the one that we included and announced as part of version 25. So to Brian's point, everything that we're going to do here today in regards to HaloPSA can be done in the web product, and we're going to actually go into the web product to do Act for Web. So gives us an opportunity to see best of both worlds. I think I saw in the poll that we've got a pretty varied group of individuals that work across both. So yeah, appreciate that, Brian. So if we are building a quote, the logical first step in doing so is to add a contact. And that's done as we just discussed in the Sold to Ship to tab. Now, with this integration, one option that you have would be to, let's say, use that paste special, or not paste special, excuse me, the paste from clipboard option. Let's go back and copy these details here and get back over to desktop. If we paste those in there, we can quickly take Peter's name and we can put in an email for him as well. And as I mentioned before, we now have this new button that displays for us. When I click new, you'll see it says logging into HaloPSA. What it's going to do is, because this particular company doesn't already exist, it's going to create both the company and the contact. Well, it looks like it does already exist. I had tested before and it didn't, so whatever the case is, if you get an error like that, what that means is you need to go into HaloPSA and create the contact. If it didn't already exist in there, it would have been created, and I can show you how that would happen if I just put a 1 at the end. It's a different company, and you can just see the process follow through where it says creating a contact, creating the user, and now we have new company record was created in HaloPSA and linked back to this quote. So I wanted to show you that there's multiple ways that you can insert contacts into the quote, and this is one way that you can actually insert the contact in the quote and then push it over to your CRM. I want to use a different contact, so I'm going to go ahead and use the wiper blade here, which is going to clear out this particular set of fields under Sold To. And the way that I'm going to search for my contact is by using the magnifying glass here, and we're going to search for our company. And you can see here that it is searching the HaloPSA database, and we can search that database using the name, phone, client phone, user first name or user last name. In this case, I'm just going to search by computer as I'm looking for the company Computer Hut. And when I hit the search button there, again, it's querying the HaloPSA sites and user database. And we'll go ahead and choose Ryan Dan and put him into all of our fields here. And you'll notice also that when we insert Ryan Dan, our contact, into here, a nice nifty thing comes up that shows us all of the active quotes for this particular contact. Now you can see I do a lot of work with this particular contact, but very least gives you the insight to see, are there outstanding quotes for that customer? What level of activity have you had with that customer? Great. So we have our contact here. The next logical step in quote creation would be for us to add some products. And one of the great things that you're able to do with the HaloPSA database or integration is to query the HaloPSA items database. So here we are in our product lookup window. If you've used a product lookup window, searching through HaloPSA is not unlike doing a search through any of the other databases. You're going to want to select that database, and you'll come in and you can either hit show all, or you can search using the description or manufacturer part number and different operators here. Now I happen to know that I want to quote out a SonicWall device, so I'm going to type in SonicWall, and again what this is doing is it's obtaining the list of products from HaloPSA, it's searching that and then bringing us the results here in QuoteWerks. So this SonicWall Firewall SSL VPN 5 user is something that came directly from the HaloPSA database, and you can see it has a lot of information in there, including unit cost, description, manufacturer part number, and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and hit add, and I'm going to mark this up 20%. And we have the ability to also, as I showed you on the side there, it showed the previous history for this customer. We could also come in and check the price history for the customer, or the price history for the item here as well. We're going to go ahead and add this. And I'm going to add one more item. As I just showed you, we just pulled from the HaloPSA database, but you do have the ability to pull from other databases as well. So let's say that we wanted to pull in a service item. We can easily come here and type in monitoring. And this is actually querying our Autotask services database that I have connected here as well. It could just as easily be any of the other databases that we have. But again, I wanted to add alert monitoring, so I'm going to go ahead and add that to our quote. And we now have a quote here with our 5-user firewall and our monitoring. So what is the next step here? It's going to be to save the quote, and this is where we actually kick off the opportunity integration with HaloPSA. So I'm going to hit save, and you'll see that we have a couple of different options here. We have the option to create and update a sales opportunity, create, update a linked document, and create, update a quote. And I want to do all three of those today. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this Sonic Wall as my prefix, and you can see that the name of the quote has been brought over with the name of the company and the date. So when I hit OK, this is going to bring up the Create New HaloPSA Opportunity window. Couple things to point out on this window is this can certainly create a new HaloPSA opportunity, but it can also be linked to an existing HaloPSA opportunity. So whether or not this is being started in QuoteWerks and you're taking this quote and creating the opportunity from there, or you have an opportunity and you want to associate that opportunity to this quote, you can do both of those here. We have the ability to change our summary or the name of the opportunity. It is going to have the naming that we have for the quote itself and then the document number. You'll see that there are certain fields that are locked down here, but we have the ability to go in and change a number of other fields. One of the things that we learned in speaking with our customers is that there may be an instance where someone would want to create a different ticket type other than opportunity. It's going to default to opportunity out of the box, but you can go in there and change it to whatever you might like that meets your workflow. And these items that are listed here, ticket type, agent status, team, these are all able to be set as default in the settings as well, which I'll show you briefly towards the end. We will choose our assigned agent. We're going to put this in progress for the status and conversion probability of 50%. And then we can come in here and add some information about the opportunity. It could be anything that is going to help inform your opportunity work. In this case, we would just say where the lead came from. And you also have the ability when working with HaloPSA and desktop to come in here and add additional attachments to the opportunity. So let's say that you were working in a RFQ or some form of request for information. You can include that RFQ here. You can include any drawings, SOWs, anything that you want to include on that opportunity. And you can either hit add files and browse to add those files, or you can drag and drop into here. And again, these are going to be added as attachments to the opportunity. So now we've got everything set up here. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to bring us to the next step in the process, which if you remember, we selected create, update opportunity, as well as create, update quote. So this is going to be the create new HaloPSA quote. And again, we have some fields that have already been defined for us, but we have other fields that we can update here. So we've got the status. I'm going to go ahead and leave that in draft. We've got our agent or our salesperson here. We've got the name of the opportunity, which again is defaulted to the same name that we saw on the previous screen. Create date is going to be based on when it is created. There's an expiration date that you can change. Days to deliver, PO number, and you'll see that the expiration date again is defaulted to 30 days out. That's something that you can update as well. And then you also have the ability to put a PO number in notes. So it could be anything you want. And we'll hit save. So we've just created our opportunity. We've attached, or we could attach a document to that opportunity. We've also created a new quote, and you can see that we're now back at our quote screen. One of the really cool things that we have is the ability to link directly to HaloPSA right here from the QuoteWerks system. So if we go to our links tab and then view opportunity in HaloPSA, that's going to open up that opportunity directly here in our web browser. And there's a couple things that I want to show you here. First off, you can just see that the name of our opportunity, it's been brought over here and created this opportunity. We're in the qualification stage. And if we go over to details, you'll also see that we've got the customer information, their contact information, we've got opportunity information. So you can see we've got our status here. We've got our conversion probability, which we set, as well as our expected close date. And here as well, we have access to go and view the quotation that we created. So if we click on this link, it'll bring us over into that quotation. And the really cool thing here is not only has it brought over both of our line items, brought over all of our different headings and associated information, but it's even picked up on the fact that the monitoring that we've included is a recurring item. So that's indicated by this little cycle here, and you can see that it also includes the recurring amounts here down here as well. So not only are you able to pull over those products and one-off services, but you can also pull over recurring charges as well. The other thing I want to show you here on this screen is that we have a attachments tab. And by default, when you create an opportunity, there's going to be a DTF file format file that's going to be included on this opportunity. And this is a file format that can open a quote in QuoteWerks natively. So let's say that someone is working in a different location, or they're just working through using the system. They could come in here, download that DTF, and open it in QuoteWerks Desktop or QuoteWerks Web and work on it like it was just a natively created quote. All right, we're going to hop back into QuoteWerks Web, and we are going to go through the normal process that we would if we're, say, delivering this to a customer. We're going to hit deliver, and actually, I'm sorry, I clicked into QuoteWerks Web. We're going to go. I'm back between both platforms on a regular basis, so my apologies there. So again, we've created our quote, we've added our contact, we've added our products, we're ready to deliver it to the customer. We can hit the deliver icon here, and we'll choose our layout, and we can either email it or upload to QuoteValet. Go ahead and upload to QuoteValet. And we're going to go ahead and send this email out. So in this case, pretty straightforward, just sending a link to the QuoteValet webpage as an attachment here. And now that has been sent out, and the customer could review it and approve as needed. Now, what I'm going to do now is show you the process of converting a quote to an order. And the action of converting that quote to an order is actually going to convert our opportunity to one as well. So there's a couple different ways that this can be triggered. The one way that might be most often if you're using QuoteValet is that a customer will go in and accept the order, and that will actually prompt you to convert that quote to an order at that time. The other option that we have here is to manually convert it. So I'm going to go to File, Convert to Order. You'll see that we're converting this document from open to closed, and we are converting it to an order. And you see in just a moment, all right, I'm not sure where that came from, but let's go ahead and give it a second. All right, so here we have our close HaloPSA opportunity as one. This is automatically being prompted because we converted it to an order. You'll see that the conversion probability has been updated to 100% and the status has been set to approved. Now we could also go back in here and change any details. We could update our attachments. Really the same process that if you were creating a net new opportunity, but with some of those updates there. The quote here as well is going to have our create date and is going to have all of the additional information that we had, and you see that the status has been updated to accepted as well. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And now that we've converted this quote to an order and we've converted that opportunity to one, we can now go back to the links tab, go back to that opportunity in HaloPSA. And there's a couple things that you'll see updated here. First off, you'll see that our status has been set to approved. Our probability has been set to 100%. And if we go back up to our attachments tab, because we sent out a QuoteValet email with that quote, that's also included here as an attachment for us. So not only do we have the DTF format, which should be opened in QuoteWerks, but we now have a rubber stamp of the actual quote that was provided to the customer if anyone wants to come in here and review that activity. All right, so that is a pretty good overview of the integration. I'm going to show you briefly how you would set it up in just a moment, but I'll see if there's any questions. I don't see any that have come in here just yet. So we will show you quickly how you would set up this integration. With any of our RMM PSA integrations, you're going to want to go to Contacts, Set Up Contact Manager. And all we needed to do here is just select HaloPSA and then go through the HaloPSA setup steps. You'll notice that this looks very similar to the QuoteValet setup, and that's because it is utilizing that shared settings service, so that both QuoteWerks Desktop and QuoteWerks Web are going to be using the same setup. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I just want to point out the fact that you have the ability to set up your integration. Three very important pieces are going to be your server URL, client ID, and client secret. And then all of the different defaults that we saw that were coming into, say, when we created an opportunity, and the defaults that will govern how the integration works are all set here in the opportunity tab. We've got some general settings for field mapping. This is where you can set that ticket type. We also have the user mapping and product mapping as well. Again, I'm not going to go into this in much detail, but I wanted to at the very least show you that this is how it would be done. So that is our integration with HaloPSA. As discussed, we were also going to take a look at our Act for Web integration. So now I'm actually going to want to go into Act for Web, QuoteWerks Web, to work with Act for Web rather than before when I went erroneously. The same general concepts are going to apply as we go through this demo here. We are going to curate a contact, we're going to associate a contact, we're going to create products and move through the process of creating different activities, including an opportunity in Act for Web. So with our instance here, I'm going to clear out our contact from our contact fields. And I'm also just going to quickly verify that we have the correct contact manager set up. And again, you can do that by going to Contacts, Set Up Contact Manager, and you'll see that we do in fact have Act for Web. I just wanted to make sure that working in the desktop didn't cause it to change. So when I click the magnifying glass, you'll see that instead of querying the HaloPSA database, we're now querying the Act for Web database, and we can search via name, phone, company name and phone, contact first or last name, and contact phone, and we have the use of those operators here as well. I'm going to go ahead and search for the same contact, except in the Act system here. Type in computer, hit enter, and we've got computer, Hut, and Ryan Dan that we're going to use for our contacts here as well. Now, instead of going into the HaloPSA system like we did before to pull out our items, the Act for Web integration doesn't really have the same items database. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually populate this using a bundle. You could just as easily go into products and pull in individual products, but I'm just going to go in here, choose my desktop bundle, and hit insert. Bundles are logically grouped products that are often sold as kits or bundles, and you have the ability within the QuoteWerks system to pre-configure these logically grouped sets of products. So In this case, this bundle is for a desktop setup. And you can see that within just a couple of clicks, we were able to add about 7 different lines, products that would typically be sold together. So bundles are a great time saver. We're not here to talk specifically about bundles, but great opportunity to give it a quick pitch. All right, so now that we have our sold to, shipped to contact, and we have our document populated, the next step here would be to go ahead and save it. And just like with our HaloPSA integration, this is where we have the ability to enact the create new sales opportunity, create link document, as well as a couple other things that you weren't able to do in Halo, like creating a follow-up call, a meeting, or to do. So we're just going to put desktop bundle as our prefix here. And you'll see that I've selected that I'm online, which means that this is in fact going to communicate with ACT and create these opportunities, link documents, and follow-up activities. So here we have the opportunity to either create a brand new opportunity or to associate it with an existing opportunity in Act for Web. You can see that the name's been brought over. And just like with HaloPSA, there are certain defaults that we can set. So here we've got our process, we've got our stage, our probability, which we might update to 50%, and our close date. Then we also have the ability to add a note as well. And this could be whatever you want. And also there's an opportunity down here to select a competitor that's also being pulled from Act for Web just to track competitive information. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And this is going to go through the process of creating that opportunity in Act for Web. We're also going to be prompted here, because we selected it, the ability to create a call. And here we're going to say that, let's say we want to give the customer a call at the end of the week at 11 a.m. And we think that call might take about 15 minutes. We'll put some notes in here. And we also have the ability to set an alarm in Act for Web for that user as well. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And now we have the ability to set a meeting activity. So we have the quote out going today. We're going to give them a call on the 20th. We're going to shoot for a 27th meeting to actually present the opportunity to them. So we'll go ahead and do the same here in terms of setting it for an 11 o'clock callback. And this can all be edited, by the way, once it's already put into Act for Web. So, if you go back and find out that the customer is not available this date, you need to schedule for a different date, you can go in and change that. And we have all the same ability here to change those settings, although they are set by default, and you can change the defaults. And then we can also put some details in here. All right. So that is a meeting activity. And then there's a to-do activity here as well. And we might say that we need to reach out to see if we can get some preferred pricing from our vendors. And we want to do that before we get back with the customer. So we're just going to set, again, a time and date here for that call. We're going to say it's going to be 11 a.m., 10-minute call. And we'll say, reach out to vendor to discuss preferred pricing. And we'll also put an alarm on there as well. Okay, so we've now created our opportunity, we've created our call, our meeting, and our to-do. And just like with our Halo integration, we have the links tab here, which is going to give you the opportunity to go directly to that opportunity in Act from Web from QuoteWerks. So as I click into that opportunity, you'll see that we have a number of different things that have come over. You can see we have our status is open, we have our total opportunity amount, our name, our probability, as well as our estimated close date. our process, our stage, all that stuff is being pulled over from the QuoteWerks system. Also being pulled over from the QuoteWerks system are the products and services that are included in that quote. So you can see that those are all listed here. We also have our activities, which are listed in the Activities tab. We have the History tab, and this is actually going to show you a couple of different things. You can see that it shows that we have a new opportunity created, but it does also show us some recent communication that we've had with that customer as well. So it provides you some background as to what communication you may have had with your customer, not related to this opportunity. And then here on the Documents tab, just like we saw before, we've got our DTF file format that is now created here, and we can use to open this quote in any version of QuoteWerks. We'll go back into QuoteWerks Web, and we'll go through the same process that we did before of delivering the quote. We're going to go ahead and choose our quote minimal template. We're going to go ahead and upload that QuoteValet. Upload that once again, and we'll go ahead and send that email out. All right, so now this quote has been delivered to the customer. We can now go back into our Act opportunity, double check that Documents tab. We'll see that we now have a PDF of our quote, just like we saw before. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and convert this to an order. So convert to order. And this is going to bring up the screen that gives us the opportunity to close the web opportunity as one. And we're going to go ahead and select a reason and say that our features can be, again, anything you want that will inform the opportunity. We can again come in here and choose a competitor that's being pulled from the HaloPSA system, excuse me, the Act for Web system. And it has now been updated there. So again, we can come to our Links tab. You can go back into that opportunity and Act for Web. And you'll now see that it still includes all of our products. However, the weighted probability has been changed because the probability is now 100. The status has been changed to closed won, and we'll see the Act close date as 12/17, today's date. And as we understand, it still has our activities there. It's going to have information about the changes that were made when we converted it here, and we still have all of our documents here as well. So that is a overview of how you would utilize the Act for Web integration. Next, I just want to show you briefly again, like we did before, where you would go to set up that integration, and show you one other piece that is shared between really all of our RMM and PSA integrations, but specifically Act for Web and HaloPSA. So if we wanted, we can go into our contacts, set up Contact Manager, and now we're doing it in web as opposed to desktop. In this case, we would select the PSA or RMM that we want to use, or excuse me, CRM. We'll then go over to and choose that particular CRM. And just here, just like HaloPSA, we have the ability to come in and add our different credentials, our server URL, and our integration settings here, which are going to govern the different defaults that are used by the integration. So you'll see very similar things that we did with our HaloPSA integration. When do we want to convert an opportunity? How do we want to handle part numbers? And then, as I mentioned, we have the ability to change our defaults for all of the different activities as well. I just wanted to show, again, one other thing. It's a feature that's shared by both HaloPSA and Act for Web, as well as many of our other integrations, and that's Datalink. And that's the ability to pull in or push out information either from your CRM or from an external system. In this case, we're going to go ahead and choose sold to. So what this is going to say is that anytime we retrieve our sold to information, let's go out to Act for Web. But again, we can do it with all of our other CRMs or PSAs. And when you perform that action, I want you to read something into QuoteWerks, or we have the ability to write out to an external system as well. So in this case, we could really have this do a number of different things and use different fields to populate the QuoteWerks fields. So I just looking through this list would say, let's say that we wanted to populate the terms field in QuoteWerks anytime we retrieve the sold to. This is how we would do that. We would select company terms as our external field source as, and then we would choose terms as our QuoteWerks field. And what that's going to do is anytime we retrieve sold to, it's going to go to Act for Web, and it's going to take that value that's in the company terms field in Act for Web and insert it into the terms field in QuoteWerks. So again, this is Datalink. It's not something specific to Act for Web, but I wanted to show it because it's a very powerful tool that can be used to extend the functionality of sharing information between the two systems. Now, having reviewed all of that, I think we've got a pretty good overview of things. I really didn't see any questions that Brian didn't already answer in there. So I can
actually, there are some questions that we do have.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I saw you had answered them, so I didn't know if.
That's okay. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. Would it be possible? Steve wanted to see how the QuoteValet setup was in desktop because he showed it in web. Let's go ahead and show it in desktop as well.
Sure. Yeah. As I mentioned, it's now a shared service, so you'll actually notice that it looks very, very similar. What I did here is I just went to Tools, Options, and we're going to select QuoteValet, and then QuoteValet Setup. And this is where it's going to look very similar to you, right? Is this same look and feel Web 2.0 window. And this is where you would go to set up the payment processing as we showed, as well as the email DKIM settings.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yep.
And then also in your setup, do you have Ingram Micro set up so you could show kind of how to place an order through desktop?
I believe I do. I believe I do. Bear with me for one second.
Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, as mentioned again, if you wanted to set this up, you would just go into your real-time setup, and it looks like I should have everything there.
Cool.
So we'll go ahead and show you purchasing. All right, so let's see if I have any Ingram Micro.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I do. Okay. So if we wanted to place an online order with Ingram Micro, it would be as simple as coming in, choosing the products that we want to include. So we'll just include 2 of these here, just for the sake of. Oh, it looks like it's part of the open document. So we're going to go ahead and choose different ones then. X out of that.
Yeah, I'm making it difficult for you.
It's okay. So one of the simple ways of using purchasing would be to create a PO, but placing an online order goes a step further and gives you the ability to actually place that online order with the distributor.
And you're set up in sandbox mode, and that's why that warning's coming up.
Yes. Okay.
So
that's good.
Basically, this is not going to be a live order, which is good.
Yeah. No. So here we are in the online order form. We have a PO number that's been generated here for us through the QuoteWerks system. We could put in other information like PO description, PO ref ID, what type of order is being placed, and then we have the ability to put in our different shipping information. So we can put in for ship to our address, and then if we have end users or resellers, we can include those there. We're going to go ahead and verify our P&A, pricing and availability, and everything's been updated. We would then validate the order. It's going to tell us if we have any issues, and in this case, we need some end user information, or at least tell them that we don't want an end user. So I'll go ahead and deselect end user, and then we'll validate that order again, and it's been validated, and now we can submit that order.
And because this is the test server, it might take a minute, but it looks like it went through just fine. Perfect.
Yep. So we've now created that sales order with Ingram Micro, and it's good to go. And you can now come in and actually track all of that here. If you were to go over to purchase orders or ordered items, I'm not going to get too in depth with that, but just to show the extension of the functionality, those will show up now in purchase orders, ordered items, and you can interact with the different features that we have there.
Perfect. Yeah, I was trying to update that order that you had, which is why that was, whenever you place the order, it's going to go ahead and update that.
Gotcha. All right. Any other questions that you thought would make sense?
I think that's really it. Joel had a question. What's the deadline for converting from Ingram XML to Ingram JSON? I'll go ahead and take this one real quick. I was actually emailing with their team earlier today because they wanted to make sure that we were communicating that out to our mutual customers. The official deadline is the end of the month. There may be a little bit of leeway one way or the other, but I would upgrade to the current version of QuoteWerks as soon as you can, and make sure that you are using the JSON creds as opposed to the XML. And this deadline is set for North America only, and it will be rolling out across the world in the coming months, and we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
Okay. See, I think that might be all the questions. Something else that I wanted to point out while we're waiting for some other people to add in some additional comments or questions. Something that was nice about this webinar is we were able to see QuoteWerks Web versus QuoteWerks Desktop. And you'll see how the feature parity is there now. So you can pretty much do everything in web that you would want to do in desktop.
Yeah.
All right. You're up.
All right. So just want to review with everyone here how you can engage with us. You can always reach out to the team. We've got the support and sales emails up here. I also mentioned we have community at QuoteWerks.com if you want to reach myself or Brian or have any webinar specific questions. We also have a ton of other resources out there. I'll just highlight the tips and tricks email. If you go into Google and search QuoteWerks tips and tricks, it'll bring you, first selection there will bring you to a website where you can sign up for a monthly email that we send out that highlights a different feature of the QuoteWerks product. So certainly would welcome you to go ahead and do that if you aren't already signed up. So I want to thank everyone for their time today. I know we've covered a lot of information. We're coming right up to the end of the hour. If there, again, any other questions, reach out to community at QuoteWerks.com. But other than that, we'll go ahead and say goodbye for now, and I look forward to seeing everyone on future release webinars. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, everyone.